We continue to follow that massive leak out of the highest court in the land. Chief Justice John Roberts now saying the document leaked is real, confirmed, which shows the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Our next guest is Indiana Senator Mike Braun joining us live. Senator, thanks so much for coming on. Chief Justice John Roberts again confirming the 98-page document, also confirming that he is officially called for an investigation. Senator, your thoughts on all of this happening now?
Well, at least we know it is true, so that's not speculated on. And I think, yeah, if you have something leak out like that from a place that I don't know that that's ever happened before, especially on something this momentous, you need to get to the bottom of it. So I think he needs to overturn every stone there at the Supreme Court to find out who the culprit was and hold him or her accountable. So I think when it comes to what we were all hoping, those of us that believe in the sanctity of life, that the oral arguments showed that they were going to probably be there. I don't know that this makes a big difference in terms of the eventual ruling. It just puts a little bit of drama into it, but it begs the question, how can something like that leak out in a place that would pride itself on that not being the case and not really happening before. So yeah, get to the bottom of it.
The President of the United States put out a statement, and he had three parts in it, none of which contained any concern about the leak from the highest court of the land. The President of the United States was just asked by a gaggle of reporters about this. No comment again about the leak or the concern about the leak coming out of the Supreme Court. This isn't a I overheard in an office type of leak. This is a 98-page opinion, a majority opinion that was leaked and then published. Does that bother you that the president is not only not ignoring this, but not spearheading, finding out how this happened?
That kind of nonchalant approach coming from our president is sad. And I think that's an indication of how politics have gotten here. They push a certain point of view, and here, they're not for what was in the draft. Then condone or say nothing about the fact of how it occurred. So I think that all gets measured by the American public. And we're talking about an institution of where trust and counting on that not happening, regardless of the content or the subject matter, should be a very important issue. That just shows you how political the place has gotten, and knowing where it probably came from, that'd be hard to defend politically for him as well.
I want to finally ask you about this and switch topics, something that was specific here. I believe something you've joined on a bill here, student loan debt, obviously something the president has brought up as well. I know you joined a bill to stop President Biden from forgiving borrowers. The president has said he's not going to cancel $50,000 a person, at least at this point. That's been up in the air, but the White House admins are indicating at least $10,000 may be cut for a qualifying borrower, and that could hinge on whether people earning a certain amount, less than $125,000 per year, $150,000 per year. Elaborate on that and why that is important to you to not allow that to happen.
Well, it's in the context that we're $30 trillion in debt as a country. $1.6 trillion debt. Separate from that would be student debt. It begs the question of how that's become so costly in the first place. Begs the question of what we need to do from the very beginning of education to make sure we don't have a system that's generating that kind of result. Getting to the point of forgiving the debt, is that a bargain now that it's only going to be $10,000 where he started at $50,000? That's a tactic to get something done, saying it's not as much. That's all in the context of kind of a government that's lost all of its bearings when it comes to what you push through the federal government, creating a context that creates that kind of exorbitant costs for a four-year degree. Many of those degrees misguided. We were in a subcommittee hearing, Senator Hickenlooper and I, just a little bit ago about workforce training, about trying to avoid how you get in that pickle. The liberal side of it is, well, don't look at the root causes, forgive the debt. And by the way, you'd have to borrow more money even to forgive $10,000 per student of debt. It's a sad long-term business plan for the federal government, and he espouses it. And they have, ever since he's come in, $12 trillion more in debt than when I got here, about 6 or 7 since he's been here.
All right, I'll leave it right there. Senator Mike Braun joining us live here. Senator, thank you. Good to see you. We appreciate your time.